I'm Nick Rizzo. I'm a sophomore lacrosse player at High Point.
I'm Miles Lemon. I'm a freshman lacrosse player at High Point, and he's here to interview with me about my experience as a black lacrosse player.
I'm Nick. I'm a sophomore lacrosse player at High Point.
I'm Asher. I'm a fifth year High Point lacrosse player.
I'm Nick. I'm a sophomore lacrosse player at High Point.
I'm Isaiah. I'm a freshman lacrosse player at High Point.
Lacrosse has always been known historically as a predominantly white sport. This narrative has been slowly changing as we have grown up playing the sport. Certain lacrosse stars such as Jim Brown, the Morgan State 10 Bears, Chaz Woodson, Kyle Harrison, and many more have strived within the sport, inspiring many to follow in their footsteps, pushing the sport of lacrosse to include more diversity.
We decided to interview some of our teammates about their experiences playing lacrosse. Here are how they went.
What do you think the biggest challenge has been?
The biggest challenge has been just to stay the course and staying encouraged. Even when I face those challenges and things like that, and you see stuff from the news and see stuff on TV and lacrosse that makes you feel like, man, we're not making any progression. We're not moving towards a positive direction. But I feel like we kind of are. It might be kind of slower than other things, but I feel like we're moving towards the right path and the right journey. As a sport, and obviously we can do a lot of things to make it more inclusive and make it easier for everyone to play. But I do feel like this sport has the right idea about how to accept others.
Challenges I face is basically a lot of coaches when recruiting, they don't really take a lot of black players on the team, which is kind of hard. But there's some coaches who do, and that's pretty much it.
There's a lot of great minority lacrosse players: Lyle Thompson, Chaz Woodson, Miles Jones. Who do you look up to as a lacrosse player, and who got you into the sport?
I'd have to say Lyle Thompson. He's probably the most creative lacrosse player that I've ever seen, so I like watching him.
Did you look up to him when you were younger?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I liked him. Who helped you through your process to become a Division I lacrosse player?
Actually, my minor lacrosse coach, his name's Jason Tasse. He was my biggest influence.
What has it been like to be a black lacrosse player?
For me, being an African American lacrosse player in college lacrosse, it's an awesome thing. There's not a lot of us, so to be, one of the very few in college lacrosse, just in the sport in general, it's an awesome feeling. But we're also trying to grow the game, so that's our goal too.
What do you think the Division I community can do to grow the game?
I think a lot of programs do a good job of, in reaching into the inner city communities and, trying to expose the game in that way. And I think, we just have to continue to do that and give kids the chance to play this awesome game and, show them how far it can take them.
What are your thoughts on Hampton? They're actually the first HBCU to be a Division I program. And they're actually run by Chaz Woodson, and they have a couple other great players in their coaching staff.
I'm high on Hampton. Obviously, they're struggling a little bit in Division I. They're in a tough league there in the SoCon, so they're struggling a little bit. But I'm glad that first of all they started the program and got players like Chaz Woodson and JT Giles to start that program. They're moving in the right direction. They got great athletes. They got they got good players, and I think they have the right idea about it. And I think as time starts to move on, when they start to establish themselves as a program, you're going to have a lot better, black players ending up going there. Obviously, I made the choice to come to High Point, so, that was my personal choice, but, had Hampton be a more established program, that's probably the situation I would have considered more heavily, but I love Hampton as a program. I wish the best for them, that team.
Obviously, we got to play them this year, and I think that was an awesome experience. Being an HBCU, obviously, that's an awesome thing, and to have a Division I lacrosse program and to have kids like that, to give them a chance to get a scholarship and get a great education and play the sport, I think it's awesome. And I'm hoping to see more HBCUs grow.
There's a couple other great lacrosse players that are minorities: Lyle Thompson, Kyle Harrison, Miles Jones, other great lacrosse players like that. Just in general in the sport, who did you look up to growing up, and who got you to play the sport?
Yeah, honestly, like you mentioned Kyle Harrison. That was one of my idols growing up. The Bratton brothers were very huge for me growing up as well. Both went to UVA, and I think Joe Von Miller as well. I think went to Syracuse. So I think there's a bunch of big time role models for me growing up, watching them. Seeing an African American running around out there playing well and doing a lot of things that are you don't see a lot of African Americans doing in college lacrosse. It was awesome to see, and it was huge for me to motivate me to keep going.
Well, Asher, as you know, you're a top 10 scorer all time in lacrosse. Do you think that you're a great role model for not only African American younger players, but everybody in the sport?
I hope I am. I try to be. Obviously being in the top 10 scoring, that's a huge honor for me. It's an awesome experience that I've gotten to come to High Point, get a great education here, and I think it's been a great opportunity for me. So hopefully that I've been that role model for some kids out there that's all I hope.
Definitely been a role model for me.
Who's your biggest inspiration in the game of lacrosse?
Yeah, so I looked up to all those guys, growing up and stuff like that. I would say Kyle Harrison easily being one. I remember just watching his highlights, his split dodge. I wanted to imitate everything he did. As a lefty, I wanted to do exactly what Kyle Harrison did. I remember watching a white player, for example, Matt Cavanaugh, when he was at Notre Dame. Lyle Thompson's, the Thompsons were also a minority in lacrosse. They had the breed, they were unique and stuff like that. And just watching them become, great, amazing players on that level and seeing and get recognition was amazing. I just remember watching them play Notre Dame and just trying the backhand 1,000 times in my backyard. Stuff like that was really what got me into this game and led me to fall in love with it.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. I also like Lyle Thompson. He's my favorite.
Being from Colorado and being an African American lacrosse player, you're kind of out there. You're not with the norm because you're not from a hotbed. What do you think your biggest challenge has been as a lacrosse player?
Yeah, like you said, being not from a hotbed, from Colorado, it was hard for me to get recruited. I think to get those looks, we had to travel a lot, and it was hard on my parents, I know for sure, just the financial strain that causes. And I think that's another thing with lacrosse. I think the sport's pretty financially straining. The gear's expensive, to get recruited's expensive, all the travel. So, again, but for me, I think it was, again, like I said, thankful for my parents and my high school coaches. They did an unbelievable job trying to get me out there. And, I think with my club coaches as well, Tom Mott, Rob Post, they did an unbelievable job with that. And so, I think that, just being exposed in that travel scene was huge for me. And I think that's how I got to where I am.
Have you faced any challenges as being an African American lacrosse player?
Yeah, I think there's always the stereotypes and the unfortunately you'll find some racism, some discrimination in the sport. I think that's any African American or minority can say that they face that in their life, and it's unfortunate that we still go through that. But I think that's the truth. And I think I faced it kind of more when I was getting into high school more and later on, and it helped me definitely kind of grow and just knowing to be myself, and I think that was huge for me.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
What do you think we should do to grow the game and include others from all races and orientations and genders?
I think one thing you gotta do is just make lacrosse a lot more affordable to start. I feel like lacrosse is a very expensive sport, and I feel like once you start to kind of create the environment that you create in football with, having to go to school and get free equipment, or pay a $200 fee or something, somewhere in that price range to where everybody can play. You'll see lacrosse grow to a level that basketball, football, and those other sports are grown to. In my opinion, and I'm sure every logical person's opinion, no race owns a certain sport. Everybody should have the opportunity to equally play, and I think once you see more diversity, lacrosse will just be taken to that next level. Once you see it just on a broader scale.
Although it may not be at the point we would like, we know lacrosse will continue to grow, and by the time our kids are playing, we hope the stereotype surrounding lacrosse is forgotten.